Welcome to the Kim B. Davis Show. Here we'll talk to the leaders in technology, culture, business, and the arts. We'll cover politics, advocacy, motherhood, writing, mental health, and mostly we'll focus on hope. Join Kim B. Davis, author, playwright, radio personality, event consultant, professional speaker on the Kim B. Davis Show.
Hello, everybody. My name's Chris Wilkins. I'm a 31-year-old social worker in Dallas. I have a podcast and I also do a YouTube channel. I like to talk about male issues, but I also talk about issues that women can benefit from as well. And I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for the invite, Kim.
No problem. And good evening. Welcome everyone to the Kim B. Davis Show. I'm your host, Kim B. Davis. And this evening, you already heard we have a dynamo. His name is Chris Wilkins. He is a father, social worker, and podcaster. And so some of you are like, okay, Kim, why do you have on a fur wrap and a statement necklace? The reason why is because we're talking about luxury. And some of you are probably excited, like, oh, we're going to talk about luxury and designer stuff. Well, it's a little bit more to it than just that. But I want to give Chris the opportunity to first define what luxury is and then tell us why luxury is important. And good evening, Chris. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. And again, long time in the making, and I'm so happy to be here. So to me, luxury as it pertains to the way I see it. Now, if you ask 10 different people, you'll get 10 different answers. So I'm not saying my way is the right way or the wrong way. But to me, luxury in all phases is pretty much you requiring the best out of yourself and the best out of your life. That can be from a material thing, that could be from how you treat yourself, even how you treat other people. But I'm speaking as it pertains to the things you do for yourself and how you treat yourself. A lot of times in our community, Kim, when you aim for affluence or you try to get to that next level, that next step, you get shamed a little bit. You know what I mean? Like not by everyone. Now all Black people are like that, but there is a stigma that you think you're better or you're bougie. And I like to tell people, there's nothing wrong with being bougie, man. If you can afford it, if you work hard enough to ascertain those things that can put you at the level to where you can do nice things for yourself, you should be able to do that. And you shouldn't feel bad about wanting to drive a nice car, wanting to live in a big house, wanting to be able to just pick up and go on a vacation because you're bored. You should be able to do those things and not be crucified in doing so. So when I talk about luxury, I'm talking about, just trying to provide and give yourself the best life has to offer while you're here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I want to go back to a couple of things you said because
Mm-hmm.
as I was preparing for this topic, and I was so excited because I really wanted to talk about it because
Mm-hmm.
exactly what you said. So many people get caught up in, oh, I can afford this car. And they're proudly, peacocking around, driving whatever car, wearing whatever you're wearing, whatever
Right, right,
diamonds expensive, carrying whatever expensive bag, or whatever it is to you that signifies I've arrived. Some people seem to be jealous of it. Some people seem to be put off by it. Some people feel like, oh, well, just because you have money, it doesn't mean that you have to flaunt it. And I agree with you. If you can afford those things, those are things that you should go ahead and do. But
right,
here's
right,
the problem in America, and I can only speak about America because we're Americans. Now,
right, right.
having traveled a few places in the world, I've seen what wealth looks like. And trust me, what we think wealth is here, you go some other places and you like, oh, for real? This is how
Right,
you
right,
do
right,
it. What y'all doing here? Like, okay, you don't quite have it.
right,
However,
right.
I can say from personal experience, I grew up in a family where it was always stressed to me the importance of buying quality, not necessarily designer. If the two were a fit together, that was great. However, it wasn't just about buying whatever was the latest and greatest. designer. And I can say for myself that as I grew up and began to go out into the world and work and got around some people, was like, I work 80 hours and I can't afford, why can't I?
Right, right.
And so you start pushing yourself to do some things that aren't necessarily beneficial to you so you can keep up with other people. And then
Hmm.
after a while, when you mature and you grow, that gets tiring. You
Yeah.
become exhausted mentally, it becomes draining, and you don't want to do that anymore. What would you say to someone who says to you, well, this is where I am, this is my income level, I don't know how to have luxury in my life because I can't afford luxury.
Yeah, well, the first thing I would tell a person who says that is the first mistake you're making is saying that you can't, right? Like words are powerful. And I'm not the most religious person in the world, but the Bible does says life and death resides in the tongue. So you have to be very cognizant of the words you put out into the universe. So I wouldn't encourage people to say what you can or can't do, especially what you can't do.
Mhm.
But I believe you always have to start where you are. And one thing that I have learned over time is when you learn to appreciate where you are, it doesn't mean you have to be content. It doesn't mean you have to settle. But if you gain gratitude and appreciation for where you are, as you try to ascertain and reach for more, that will always sustain you where you are. Because no matter what point you're beginning from, you could only go from like where you are in that moment. So you can't beat yourself up about what you don't have, and um, you can't become so bogged down that you want this life and you're so worried about the gap that it takes from where you are to where it is to get there. A lot of times that gap isn't as wide as we think. And a lot of times when I hear people talk about luxury or making more money, a lot of times it can be a lot simpler than what you think to get those things.
Mhm.
We view ourselves as so minute and minuscule that we don't think that we're worthy of these things, right?
Mhm.
So you'll see a lady who's an entrepreneur and she has businesses and she's able to go out and make these purchases that you're like, wait a minute, that's my annual income. She just spent that on a watch or like a purse or a bag, right? I
Mhm.
believe law of attraction is a big thing, but a lot of it comes by just putting yourself into place. So if you make $50,000 a year, because you spoke to like a person coming to me talking about their income, right?
Mhm.
So if you make 50,000 a year, and your goal is to make 100,000 a year, well, you know that there's people in this world who make $100,000 a year.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of information. I mean, forget the mentor route. I'm really big about mentors. I have no shame in saying, okay, if this is the level I want to get to, let me find men and women who are doing it so I can reach out to them.
Mhm.
Hey, what do you need me to do? How can I hang around this person to learn from them so I can duplicate what they've done? Because if one person can do it, you can do it. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Mhm.
So that's my mindset as it pertains to that. But just put yourself in without rambling on too long because I talk about this a lot on my podcast and my YouTube channel
It's
also. But I believe a large part of life comes down to alignment, right? So, and when I say like alignment, I'm talking about if there's something that you want, you have to know that it's been done before by someone.
Mhm.
That person may not be smarter than you, they may not be better than you, but they've done it,
Mhm.
right? If you can align yourself with what it takes to get to that level or be at that level and you reside in it and you speak it, you have to speak it before you do it, right?
Mhm.
You have to believe in your mind. So you have to unlearn all of the things that you were taught that had you in the mindset that you couldn't do it to begin with, right? And you have to kind of like hypnotize yourself into positive thinking and viewing yourself in a better light. Anything is possible. I know people say that all the time, but like anything is literally possible.
And it is so true. You know, when you step out on faith, that's when wonderful things happen. And oftentimes, that's when the greatest story is told in a person's life. They'll say, I just stepped out on faith. I was terrified. I was afraid. But all these things fell into place
Mm-hmm.
because you
Mm-hmm.
put your trust in God.
Right.
But I want to
Right.
go back to something that you said, because earlier before we started the interview, you talked about a book. Tell us about the book that you were reading and the statement that you said and why
Yes.
that is so important to you.
Yes. So there is a book by Malcolm Gladwell called Outliers, but the foreword was co-written by Jordan Peterson, who's like he was a professor at the University of Toronto. He's a great like modern day like philosopher, like a thinker. He has a speech on a TED talk where he talks about how you go about treating yourself better, right? Because a lot of us treat other people better than we treat ourselves, you know. So like one of the students had asked him, like, how do you treat yourself better? And he simply goes into this spiel about put yourself in a position of someone who you had to take care of. So if you were to replace you with the person that you're responsible for taking care of, like if you are like a great mother, right? You love your kids, you do anything for your kids, you work sun up and sun down, and you come home and you're exhausted, but you still feed them, you read to them, you bathe them, you love on them, you put life into them. What if you had to treat yourself like how you treat them? And if you love yourself as you love all the people that you love and you take care of and you make sacrifices for and take risks for, then you will love yourself 98% better overnight.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that was such a simple concept because I had never thought about it from that perspective. I thought self love came from just doing like these extravagant things for myself. Like, you know, I have to take myself here or buy this expensive car, even though my social work salary can't really afford it. You know what I'm saying? Let me just buy it and try to catch up to it like later. But no, it's just a simple concept of just treating yourself how you would treat someone that you're responsible for taking care of. And I started doing that 2 years ago.
Wearing it just to wear it because that's what I can afford. I wait until I get what I truly want and I figure out what things are good for me, what things I truly desire, and those are the things that you work towards.
Mm-hmm.
But now having
Absolutely.
but now having said that, what are some ways that people can incorporate luxury into their life?
Man, I don't know if my advice is the best on that, but I can tell you,
Please,
man. Yeah.
please tell us.
Okay. Ways that you can start implementing luxury into your life is start doing like nice things like for yourself. And I don't necessarily mean go out and ball out and do things outside of your means, but take yourself to a nice restaurant that you wouldn't normally go to or be able to afford. You know, put yourself in situations of affluence and higher society, and like put yourself around people who are living the life that you want to live. And that all goes back to the law of attraction and alignment. But do something like nice for yourself out of the norm. Like if you normally go to like the spa like in the hood, go to the spa like where the rich people go to get their eyelashes did or their eyebrows did, you know. And then you never know who you will bump into in some of these places too. I'm not saying like you'll go to a certain nail shop and bump into Holly Berry, but I'm saying like the situations that you put yourself in as you try to elevate and want finer things. And you're absolutely right, Kim. It has to be a mindset before it becomes a thing. And then you also hit the nail on the head when you talked about how some people think luxury is 100% material thing, and it's not. It's just a way of life, a thought process. You
Mhm.
know, quality really matters. You know, a funny joke, right? So
Sure.
a friend told me, he said, "Hey, Chris, why don't you ever see BMW or like Lamborghini commercials?" And I was like, "I don't know why." He said, "The people who can afford Lamborghinis don't watch TV."
Exactly. That is true. I've heard that. I have heard that.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
exactly right. They don't have to pour money into advertising
They don't
campaigns.
have to. Yeah, it sells itself. Yeah,
Exactly. If you're
hmm,
looking for a Bentley, if you're looking for a Tesla, and
yeah.
because I have two young sons and I have a 12-year-old, so he's
Uh
all
huh.
about cars. So
Right, right.
have conversations. Bugattis, Ferraris,
Yeah,
Maybachs,
yeah.
any of those things. Guess
Right.
what? They aren't. There's no commercial running for that.
Yeah.
We see a commercial for, and this isn't criticizing Cadillac or Lincoln or
Mm-hmm.
Mercedes or Lexus or any of those. It's not
Right.
criticizing it. But when you truly are a, and I don't even know, I'm trying to think of what the word is. When you are something that is a true luxury, only a few people will have
Mm-hmm.
access to you. And
Right.
when we talk about people, meaning ourselves, some of us are trapped in situations or have placed ourselves in situations or around people that have way too much access to us, and they are
Yes.
bringing our energy down. Whether it's them, whether it's us, just together.
Right.
There's a saying that my grandmother used to say all the time, and it's a very common saying: birds of a feather flock together. If you want to
Yes.
see,
Yeah.
my father would always say, if you want to see your future, look at your friends. And so,
Yes. That's
if
true.
your friend, like you said, if your friends aren't doing what it is that you want to do, not necessarily the same thing, but they
Mm-hmm.
aren't accomplishing, they aren't dreaming. The
Mm-hmm.
meme that says, if you got friends and all they doing is talking about people, you need to up your
Right.
game. You
You
need to up
do.
your circle,
Absolutely.
because it's
Yeah.
about projects and what we're doing from here.
It
It's not
is.
about what Susie Lou or Tyrone down the street is doing. Nobody care about that. Let them live, because whatever they doing, that's them. But
Right. Right. Absolutely.
most people I know, especially my friends, we
Mm-hmm.
talk about big goals. We talk about
Mm-hmm.
having joy in our lives. We talk
Mm-hmm.
about being
Mm-hmm.
healthy. We talk, where do we want to go? Where haven't we been? What do we want to see? How do
Right.
we
Right.
want our kids to be successful in life? And how can we help you in our various roles professionally? Help
Mm-hmm.
and do that.
Right. Right.
So, what would you say to someone who is stuck just in that whole luxury as a designer? Because I think about, oftentimes we'll go, like when I'm at a meeting, and I
Mm-hmm.
I love purses. That's one of my things.
Right.
I love purses.
Okay.
I love
Right.
accessories. And so when I walk into a room, you're dressed well, you smell good, but then I'll see another woman who will have a handbag, and I'm like, "Oh, that's pretty." And I'll
Yeah.
compliment her. I'll say, "Oh, you look really nice today, but I really like that bag."
Right.
Just
Right.
because
Right.
that's what I like. But you will have people who will have a horrible attitude, who will have the most expensive bag, drive a really expensive car. Their
Mm-hmm.
hair will be done, everything will be in place, but their attitude, their
Mm-hmm.
spirit is just
Mm-hmm.
completely negative. I will tell you, Chris, when I see them, I'm like, ugh, that
Right. Right.
that bag is not so attractive anymore, because you're not a good person. Can you
Got you.
talk a little
Got
bit
you.
about that?
Yeah, that was a great example too, actually, because so many times we're led to believe that once I get this thing, I'm gonna be okay, or my life will be so much better once I get to this level, or I can afford that car, or I can get that woman or that man. But when you see people like that, you automatically know that these are people who put value in the thing and not value in the bigger picture. The bigger picture meaning you need to be happy whether you're shopping at Ross, Rainbows. Don't wait until you're able to shop at Neiman Marcus or Saks or these upper tier stores. If you
Mhm.
put your happiness into a destination as opposed to the journey, you're gonna realize after a while that new destination isn't all that cool. Like I watch a lot of Wall Street interviews. Steve Jobs gave an interview at NYU in '97, and he talked about how his whole life he thought if he ever made $1 million, he would be the happiest guy in the world. And he made $1 million, but now he's hanging around people who make $100 million. So now he's the poorest guy in the room, even though back in the trailer park he came from, $1 million you can buy the whole city.
Right.
So it's perspective based, and it ties back into what we talked about earlier. A lot of it has to do with people are just unhappy. So when they're unhappy, the two things you can do is you can do the self work to work on self and improve self and eliminate some of those demons you have and the traumas you have to really unlock happiness. Because I believe people can truly be happy.
Mhm.
Um, Happy with themselves. But when you don't do the work, you use things as a substitute to be happy. You think if I get a tall man with money and muscles, if I get a woman with plastic surgery, if I get a job that pays this amount, if I can get a car that has a certain emblem on the hood, if I can live in a zip code where all the people who run the state live, you think you attach your happiness to things. And the thing about things is that you can't take them with you. So they're not tangible. They're great to have. It's amazing to aspire. I have a personal goal. One day I want to buy an NBA franchise, and I know I can get to that point.
Okay.
But I'm the happiest social worker you ever meet. So if I never get to that $1 billion club where me and an investment group can go buy the Memphis Grizzlies cash, I'm still gonna be a happy guy. Now, would I be happier buying the Grizzlies in 20 years? Absolutely, absolutely. You know, but don't attach your happiness to things, because things come and go. Things could be taken away from you as quick as you get that Lamborghini. It can be repoed away. So when you put your happiness into things and, materials, that's not a sustainable thing. You want to put your happiness in things that are sustainable, mental health, love, peace, self-image, like those are healthy self-image, not just looking at yourself as the worst, but looking at yourself in a way to where you admire yourself. And it's not cocky, it's not braggadocious. Like, people who aren't in that space will look at people who love themselves and say, well, you think you're better, or you love yourself. You're supposed to love yourself, man. You're supposed to. Like, what do you want me to do? Walk around and say, oh, well, CJ is horrible, Chris is ugly. Like, no, you're supposed to love yourself. You're supposed to look in the mirror and like what you see. I don't care who you are. I don't care how old you are, how young, like race. Like, I don't care. Like, you supposed to love you. And when you love you, that radiates out. And the people who love themselves, they attract to that. And the people who don't, they deflect from that because they're not at that same space in their lives. So yeah.
Absolutely. So I want to share a quick story.
Okay.
So several years ago, I went through a big problem with depression. And that was an issue that I realized, that having all these wonderful things um, didn't necessarily make me happy. And I found myself being sad and depressed, but at the same time going, okay, but I have all these things. What, uh, you know, I should be happy. I have, I have a fur, I have a nice vehicle, we have a nice home, all these things. But what I realized at the end of the day was exactly what you said. I didn't love myself. I had gotten to the point where I was so busy deflecting from my concerns, my issues, all the different things that were going on, that I wasn't paying attention to what was going on inside of me. And I was using all the external things that I had, or the external things that I was doing, to validate myself, instead of letting that validation come out from inside. Can you talk a little bit about the mental health piece of it, as you said earlier?
Yeah, absolutely. Mental health support can look different for different people, but the foundation of what it is to be healthy from a mental perspective for me is you have to do things that you enjoy doing. Like, so when you're ambitious, the obligations increase. They become bigger. They become more impactful. Um, but a lot of it comes down to just doing things you enjoy doing. Things that put you in a mindset, in a space of just enjoyment for however long or however brief. Um, just doing things for you, taking care of you, doing nice things for yourself. It can be as little as going to the beach and just walking and letting the sand go between like your toes and stuff, or
Hmm.
for the
Absolutely.
first
Absolutely.
time. Um, yeah, so like a year ago for my birthday, I traveled to Israel. So this was my first time being out of the country since I was in the Navy, right? And when you're in the military, anybody who know when you travel it's not fun travel. How the commercials make it. You're working 7 days a week. It's a grind. And I said, let me take an international travel where I can just go for 2 weeks and just enjoy me and just have fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to your point, when you talk about wealth, I know we kind of stepped away from that. The wealth is just completely different. Like the wealth, what we think is wealth, what we think is affluence, we have no clue. We have no idea. Wealth, like the rabbit hole for wealth goes so deep. And I saw it firsthand. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, let me be happy with where I'm at, man. Because if I, because I mean, if your goal is that, could happen, it could not happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
But to get like there's levels to everything. And I think through the media, through like the hip hop like generation, we think wealth is bling bling. But bling bling isn't wealth. Wealth is like generations. Like I remember like I went to a conference and there was a guy talking about rich, you can go broke. Well, my great, 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 great granddaughter has her college paid for in her first house already.
Wow.
Like, if no one else does anything with their lives, like you can't get rid of this amount of money. You think about the Waltons with Walmart. Like, there's just no way. Like Sam Walton and his wife started it, but like in 2090, his fourth removed great granddaughter is gonna be set for life.
Exactly.
That's wealth. You know what I mean? So
Mm.
yeah.
So, Chris, your whole point about the interview that you were talking about Wall Street, how this particular family, the great granddaughter or the great great granddaughter has a education paid for and already has a home. It reminds me of what Chris Rock said many years ago. Rich, you can go broke in the summertime, over the
Yeah.
course of a summer. He said it could,
Yeah.
Chris Rock said it could
Yeah.
be a drug habit. You could go gambling, you
Yeah. Yeah.
rich. He said, but the person that owns the team, which
That
is
was it.
what,
I
yeah,
remember that. I
he
remember
said
that. Yeah.
that is wealth. And unfortunately, so many of us confuse being rich, which is having some money, to
Right.
being poor. And I
Right.
think one of the things I saw this today on a meme, and that was that some people are poor because the only thing they have is money, meaning they don't have that
Mm.
connection
Mm-hmm.
to family and friends and all those things. So,
Right. Right. Right.
but I want to go back to something you said earlier. You were talking about traveling to Israel and what
Mm-hmm.
wealth looked like. Talk to me a little bit about how luxury and travel is similar.
Whew, let me tell you, man, travel and luxury. There's wealth everywhere. Like there's like wealthy people like in the States, of course, but the wealth, when I say wealth, I'm talking about like just the quality. Like to enter a hotel where it's like complete like gold and crusted floors and there's just wealth. Like, you look around in the parking lot and there's not a car under 300,000.
Exactly.
I mean, it's hard to explain because of course I'm so far from it, but just like seeing it, you know it when you see it. How the people, and here's the crazy part about it too. A lot of times what we identify as wealth isn't how the people who are wealthy actually carry themselves. A rapper who's $100,000 in debt to his label can wear a $20,000 outfit, and you can take a Mark Zuckerberg who's wearing jeans, a t-shirt,
Mm-hmm.
Nikes maybe. And I mean, like, I see that a lot too, to where some people be poor, flexing like they have money, and they will have a Benz, but then they'll go back to an apartment where
Exactly.
you'll see someone in a Toyota drive to a neighborhood to a house with 7, 8 bedrooms. So it makes you think, like, there's looking like wealth and there's actually having wealth. And just like when you know, it's like the restaurants, the eateries, even the night spots, they weren't regular like night spots that you would get here or in the area that had a lower like lower income.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, big
You
difference.
Yes, you are absolutely right. And that goes back to what I said initially. It is mindset.
Yeah,
Luxury is
absolutely.
a mindset. You have to know how
Mm-hmm.
to handle money because I read this a couple weeks ago. Money flows towards those who know how to handle it. Anyone, just like you said, you can get a Lamborghini and it could get repo, it could get crashed, all kinds of things could happen, and you would lose it just as quickly as you received it. And
Right.
so, luxury has to be a mindset. It is taking care of yourself, making sure that you are treated well, that you are loved well. I love
Mm-hmm.
the quote that you gave at the beginning when you said, think of the person that you love, who you are responsible for caring for, and then place yourself in that position and take care of yourself. I think that's
Absolutely. And also too, Kim, let me add on about the luxury thing. You could actually create luxury where you are. Like I know like a saying that like we used to have like when I was coming up or whatever, like you may not have the best but treat what you have like the best. So you give a luxurious feel to what you have. Like there's certain things you can do from a decor standpoint where you are. Like, I don't care if you're in an apartment studio, you can kind of like, fancy up like where you are to add luxury to like where you are right now. Like,
exactly.
if you take care of the things that you have and you appreciate the things and you add the gratitude part in, the Most High will bless you then with more.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's how that works too. I'm telling you, there are some people who have like not the most fanciest like houses, but you go inside and be like, wait a minute, you really did something with this. You really, you took a little bit, but you made a lot out of it. So you can do that until you get to that dream home or that dream like vehicle. You know, if you have you a Ford or a Mazda or a Nissan, there's nothing wrong with that, but take care of it. Take care of it. Take it to the car wash. Get it like detailed every once in a while. Occupy your back seat because some of y'all ain't called no names. Some of y'all back seats be looking kind of rough. Be looking kind of rough. But take care of the things that you have, man, because it's always great to aspire for more and want more. But when you get to the point of where if you treat what you have like royalty and like luxury, man, I'm telling you, it's a mind state. You nailed it perfectly on the head. It's really a mind state. And then eventually, as you elevate and move up and make more and do more, then you'll be able to actually ascertain some of the more luxurious items. But until then, turn where you are into luxury, man. And it's very possible, you know.
I love it, Chris. Thank you so much for coming on the Kim B. Davis show and talking to us about luxury. I hope that you will join us again. But before you go, tell us
Mm-hmm.
where we can find you. Tell us about your podcast.
Oh, yes, absolutely, absolutely. So, thank you so much. Shameless plug here. So, my podcast is called the Be a Man podcast, and I primarily talk about issues from the male perspective. I try to talk about male accountability, ways that we can build, ways we can lead, ways we can be accountable. That's a really big issue a lot of times with us. Just ways that we can like self-improve and be better versions of us. I believe that there's no society could be strong or powerful if the men are. If the men are weak, then the society behind it is going to be weak as well. So I strive to push men to be good fathers, good husbands, good leaders, good stewards of the community. And if you are blessed enough to work your way up and make it out, reach back and pull up somebody else too, and teach them like how to respect yourselves and how to honor your family and do all the things that they talk about. And then also I have a YouTube channel where I get kind of wild over there on YouTube. Now YouTube I have a little bit more freedom My YouTube channel is called the CJ Wilkins YouTube channel. You can just go to YouTube and type in CJ Wilkins, and over there, I talk about dating a lot more. So I don't talk about dating on the podcast a lot. I talk about real like men issues, but I talk a lot about dating. Sometimes like biasly, but it's entertainment on YouTube. That's how the algorithm work. It's not always about the important content of actually educating and teaching. With YouTube, you got to put the candy in the medicine. So I'm learning that a lot more. But yeah, those are the two places that you can check me out on. And Kim, I'm so happy to do this collaboration, and I'm looking forward to doing more work with you together in the future.
Absolutely. And Chris, can we find you on social media?
Oh yeah, of course, man. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at hashtag Mr. CJ Wilkins. That's all just one word. And on Facebook, you can find me at Chris Wilkins. I got the beard and the hat in the profile picture. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you again, Chris, for being on the show. We look
Mhm.
forward to another exciting topic with you again soon in the future. Thank you
Yes, ma'am.
guys. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Kim B. Davis Show. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Bachelor is spelled BATCHELOR. You can see this show on youtube.com/Kimberly Bachelor Davis. You can hear this show on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, and Google. And to find out more about me as an author, you can go to kimbdavis.com. Thank you again for tuning in. We hope you'll join us for the next show. And as always, remember, be magnificent.